Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we're going to talk about JT Orr because that's what he wanted. That's what he's going to get.
Get ready to learn what national recognition is like, buddy.
The Lakers lost in OKC 136-120. And look, had they lost like just straight up to the Thunder, I would have said, you know what? Thunder played a good game. They shot their asses off. They played really, really well. They're a good bleeping team. But now, because of the way that the Lakers lost and everything that it took for the Thunder to win that one, fuck you, Thunder. I think you're frauds. How about that? No,
or at least fraud adjacent.
Fraud adjacent is where I find them. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that game. Unfortunately, the story coming out of that game is going to be the referee who ejected Luka Doncic from a what was a 2-point game at the time with 7 minutes and some change to go in the game.
The Lakers were actually up by 1 when he was ejected. It was 108, 107, and then the Thunder immediately went on a 22-8 run.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing that happens when you eject.
Jovan. I don't know what the final round and run ended up being, but I saw his tweet and saved it.
That's the kind of thing that happens when you eject a team's best player. That's normally how that goes. That's why normally,
quarter, especially
normally in the NBA, that's why they kind of try to avoid throwing out teams' best players or Draymond Green. So we'll go ahead and get through this one. We'll also preview tomorrow night's game against the Dallas Mavericks. It'll be Luka's return to Dallas. Boy, think about this, Harrison. Dallas Mavericks were already going to get a pissed off Luka because they traded Luka Doncic. And now on top of it, he's going to Dallas for the first time. He's probably going to be playing in front of the friendliest away crowd in the history of the sport. And on top of it, now Luka's going to be pissed because of what just happened, what just transpired tonight. So good luck, Mavs. That's going to get ugly.
Can I actually go? I'm going to play devil's advocate a couple times on this show, but can I actually go counterpoint? What if Luka sits out this game because, just to show the NBA for throwing him out? He's like, oh, you want to get involved in my games? All right, enjoy the ratings when I'm declared out with first thing in the morning against the Mavs.
Yeah, it would,
and all the discourse around ticket prices for that game.
It would be funny, if Luka was just like, you know what? After this, I don't even want to play in front of these referees.
He's
anymore.
like, actually, I strained my hammy on the walk out of the arena. I wasn't expecting to cool down so quickly, and it's just like as a finely tuned athlete, it just threw all my mechanisms off. Yeah.
I will. It would be. Luka not playing tomorrow would be incredible. Would be absolutely incredible. I would be a little bummed because I'm driving 3 hours and some change to Dallas to cover the game.
You would have to respect the pettiness,
I would, it's exactly what I would do. It's exactly what teenage me would do. Where it's like, I got a bad grade on a quiz and I'm not allowed to go out tonight. But you know what? I'm not going to grandma and grandpa's tomorrow. How about that? I feel a little sick. And they're 80 plus, and I don't want to get them sick. How about that, mom and dad? So anyway, we'll preview that, and then, as if today wasn't busy enough, the Denver Nuggets fulfilled all of.
Oh man, this is going to be a footnote. This sucks.
Yeah, I know. It would have been otherwise. It would have led the show, honestly. Had the Lakers punted this game, we would have been like, all right, they lost. Cool. We get to move on and talk about the Denver Nuggets imploding in because of the way that things played out tonight, though. That is going to be the last part of the show. But it does give you a reason to stick around because it's going to be a lot of laughter. It's going to be a lot
may
of
have
us
some
laughing
things
at
to
the
say
Thunder.
about Mike Malone. I don't know. For those of you longtime listeners, you may be aware that we might have some opinions on Mike Malone getting relieved of duties.
Miguelito. All right. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. And then go ahead and hit that share button as well. All you have to do, sharing from YouTube onto Twitter is super easy. You literally just hit the X icon and it puts together the title for you. You just throw it out there, and that kind of thing helps on the algorithm as well. Al Gore's rhythm, as the kids say. And yeah, I don't know if any kid has ever said that.
I was going to say, I think that's exactly what the kids call it. I believe that is what it's short for. Harrison, it's just Al Gore is in the tube dancing to Bill Clinton playing the tuba or the trombone. I don't know. What did he play? What
I think it was a saxophone.
Saxophone.
It was like
there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not that I haven't seen the clip. It's that I don't know musical instruments.
Yeah, but the did you see, like, completely different subject? But did you see John Morant's new celebration?
Oh man, I was gonna try and surprise you with this on the show tonight. You know, I have to respect John Morant. Adam Silver, he said, "Look, Ja, no more finger guns." And Ja said, "You got it, boss. Bet. Understood. Message received. Just going to do grenades now." And he's like, "Wait, no. Just..."
It's like, Ja,
they're going to find him for this. And he's just going to... I hope he just keeps getting increasingly more elaborate. Like, he does the leap of faith off of a building and uses an Assassin's Creed hidden blade to, like,
he's going to, like,
punch the
he's
ground.
He's going to go, like, you know, have his thing here. It goes, you know,
he does the full Ezio Auditore Requiescat and Pace. I butchered that pronunciation, but he does the rest in peace, you know, with the feather.
He's gonna show up to his next game wearing the hood with, like, the point in the front of it and everything.
He's like, okay, now I'm driving an X-wing. You know, like,
I thought
they're like, and Ja releases the proton torpedoes down the exhaust port after the 3.
I've thought that, like,
8-0 Hornets run after that elaborate celebration left the Grizzlies playing 4-on-5.
His new like, you know, intro music, because he's the last guy whose name the lights are gonna go dark and it's like dun dun da 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 dun da da da. It's gonna be he's taking out the whole team. No, but I've thought that Ja was being really stupid about his addiction to finger guns. But
see, this is funny. This is funny.
Made me swing back around, man.
Yeah, I'm on his side again. Again, like, it's. I was so annoyed that the NBA was being so ridiculous as to make me defend Ja Morant, like one of my least favorite players of, like, the last 10 years. I just do not enjoy him at all, and it's just, you know, like. But they were being so ridiculous about this finger gun thing. It's like, okay, I get it. He displayed a gun on Instagram, but, like, also, every player does the finger guns. Who cares? This is such a weird line to draw for you guys right now.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this Lakers game, though. Again, the refs was 136 to 120. Speaking of finger guns and actual guns, I'm sure if that game had taken place, if, like,
please, I have a job. Please, just
had that game taken place in LA, I'm just saying JT Orr would have been in a little bit of trouble.
You know, I think, you know, can we talk about this? Can we talk about the call?
Yeah, well, all right. Here's the call. Here's the play as it happened. As you can see here.
Well, he got the switch. He won it again. Hartenstein. Luka's thrown out of the game. Oh no! Luka just got thrown out.
I'm gonna go backwards. I want to hit pause here really quickly.
You can see Luka mouthing, "It was him" at the fan.
Yeah. Well, I want to scroll back, though, because I saw OKC fans, you know, complaining about how many free throws the Lakers shot in this game compared to OKC. Watch the defense that Hartenstein. I'm calling him Hartenstein. Is it Steen? I watched the intro video or the introductions for OKC tonight, and they call him Hartenstein. So,
I don't know that they do foreign pronunciations in OKC.
It's like, that's real close. That's
Guy's
real
like,
close.
I read it like it was on the paper.
That's real close to a pronoun. Like,
you don't get your preferred pronunciation in OKC.
But anyway, watch the defense that Hartenstein plays on Luka here, and tell me that like Luka didn't have a reason to. If he did, at first I thought he was talking to Orr because there's roughly 37 hand checks. Watch. So at first you see Luka's head is faced towards the referee here.
Yeah.
But you also see it in the bottom right of, right above the 107 that OKC has scored already in this game. There's a dude wearing a hat and an OKC jersey, number 8. And apparently, now this is according to Jason Gallagher, who lives in OKC, goes to a lot of the OKC games. I think he directs LeBron's content, but
does, correct. Yeah. Just mind the game. I don't know about all his content.
That's true.
Mind
Yeah,
the game does.
So apparently, this fan is kind of known for getting his back and forth with Luka. So anyway, we keep this thing rolling here, and Luka, I think, calls him a pussy. I think
I love that this fan is known for getting into it with Luka, and they're like, you know what? This seems like a guy we should continue to let sit courtside.
Yeah, that's also true. But it's OKC, all right, so we'll hit play vicinity, like not even people on the court, but the people sitting courtside were also like, yo, what is happening right now? And listen, even if Luka had said something to the referee, look at this is the extent of
under any circumstances.
Yeah, and so anyway, that's how that plays out. Luka gets thrown out. Go ahead.
But if I can, I know Raj always likes to say on this show, like, why does the devil need an advocate? But you know what I always say? I'm like, where is JT Orr so that I can advocate? Like, I know that people are complaining about like this being, everyone's like, oh, like Luka said this, like, why did he get ejected that? But no one's asking the real question. Was that fans' feelings hurt? JT Orr may have correctly identified that Luka hurt that man's feelings. And, that is, I think, more important than getting to watch him for the final 8 minutes of a fourth quarter of a tightly contested basketball game.
I did think about this because, and I
care about protecting the fans, or do we not?
Well, I the reason that this is going to come up because there's going to, the NBA is going to make a decision on this technical foul tonight as to whether or not it's going to stick or if they are going to rescind it. And I do kind of wonder if the reason that they wind up keeping the tech, and I kind of hope that they keep the tech, because if they rescind the tech and it turns out the Lakers just lost this game in Oklahoma City, that would have essentially...
Yeah, there's no way that they're going to rescind it. The headlines would be too bad. They can't do it.
Yeah, but the only explanation I think they can go with is something along the joke, that the actual joke, Harrison, that you're making right now. The bit that you're running with right now is going to be the actual...
They're like, hey, everybody says we don't care about the fans, but you know what? Number 8 in OKC? No, not the player. The guy sitting courtside, second row.
I'm trying to think, because
Shea
wears number 2.
Oh,
J-Dub. Okay. All right. Well, he's not good enough to wear somebody's number, so I don't care. That guy's feelings are hurt. What are you doing wearing a Jalen Williams jersey? That guy is like a... and again, this goes back to the fraudulency of OKC, that I just don't think they're as good as they statistically profile.
Okay, so the thing is that you have to understand where the refs' incentives are. And so it's like, from their perspective, they didn't work this hard all year to get Shea an MVP, to have him get beaten by the Lakers twice heading into the playoffs and have that be the storyline, okay, going into his final candidacy. Like, they did not push this hard getting Shea to the line to get him that MVP all year, for it to just get ruined now because, Luka wants to come in and own the Thunder again.
It was so funny too, because you saw the actual oxygen get breathed back into OKC, because they're like, damn it, we're about to lose to Luka again. And they're like, oh shit, that was taken care of for us. Hell yeah. And then they went and ripped off. And now look, like I know that we're told to do whatever we can to avoid blaming the referees for outcomes of games and stuff like that. No, I'm not having that on this one, because the Lakers were getting ready to play in a specific way. They, yes, they had some turnovers and stuff, but like these people are still human beings, and it's still a really bleeping good team that they were playing against there. And so when you get that kind of frazzled, and all of a sudden this guy gets ejected on accident. By the way, where's the conversation with the rest of the referees there? Like where do the other referees come into play and be like, hey, JT, what are you doing?
They just they trust JT Orr's judgment that much. And I think, we have to accept that too.
No.
It's like you could say that's a soft technical, but I think that actually might just be the new tariffs on international players. So I think the refs are just putting America first there. So I want to thank them.
Yeah.
It's
going to tank the NBA economy too. It's what it's going to do. But it's
yeah, no. But seriously, like, this as a former coach too. But like, if I was coaching high school, I would have thrown out my own player for acting like that. So I want to thank the refs for setting a good example. I think the kids now, they see you can't behave like that. That's the important thing when watching an NBA game.
Disagree. All right.
That was my last one. That was all I had left.
We have the okay, yeah. All right. So here's the poll report, which was conducted by Cliff Brunt, Associated Press observer with crew chief Tony Brothers, following today's Lakers Thunder game. Question 1: why was Luka Doncic assessed his first technical foul by JT? Oh, Orr gave him the first tee too. Perfect.
That's incredible. I didn't realize that.
I also want to throw. Look. I'm not making
Tony Brothers is standing there like a hostage, like having to defend the worst decision he's ever seen. In
the first quarter, Billy Mack, the Lakers telecast. I don't know if they used to share the telecast, but the Lakers telecast, they zoomed in on JT Orr, and Billy Mack, in a very heartwarming moment, was like, "Our hearts go out to you, JT Orr." Apparently, he lost somebody very close to him in a very unexpected way. Is what Billy Mack was kind of giving him a little bit of spiritual support there for. Shortly thereafter, JT Orr gave Luka Doncic his first tee, which, according to Tony Brothers, was given to Luka because he directed profanity at a game official, which Luka does plenty of.
Yeah.
Second question.
Seems like a thing Luka would do. That's believable enough.
Second question. Why was Luka Doncic assessed his second technical foul?
Good follow-up question. I was also curious about this technical.
Good work too. Was it the official's judgment that he was speaking to him or a fan? Brothers, he looked directly at an official and used vulgar language. Here's the thing, man. Has this ever happened to you, Harrison? Where like you'll be at a bar and a pretty girl will be at the other end of the bar and they'll like wave or they'll give you some kind of well, no, not let me finish. They'll like look, it'll look like they are looking at you and they'll wave and you're like, there's no way she's looking at me. There's no way.
A likely reaction for me to have.
And then like, a couple seconds will go by and she'll be like, I'm over here. And you again, you're like, there's no way she's actually. And then when you finally build up the courage to be like, I guess she's talking to me. And you put you grab your drink and you start walking over there. You realize that her friend was on the other side of you and she was just trying to get her friend's attention and she did not see you at all. And for that brief moment, you think, maybe, just maybe, the universe aligned, the planets aligned, and this pretty girl is showing you attention. But then a second later, you realize, you idiot, of course she was looking for her friend. And I feel like that's what happened here, and it cost Luka 7 minutes of a game.
Well, so again, I think the only logical thing to do there is to throw her out of the bar for hurting your feelings.
Imagine going to security, like, excuse me. So here's what happened.
She hurt my feelings, and I don't think
shit.
she should be allowed here anymore.
Well, depending on which state you're in, I think you might actually be able to get by with that. And then third question, why was Jared Vanderbilt called for a technical foul? Also by Orr.
Vando looked like he deserved his.
I don't know. All right, so brothers, he was called for a technical foul for stepping towards and verbally taunting a player while the ball was dead. Come on, man. Come on.
Vando got his money's worth, I will say.
Yeah, in terms of how hard
and I understand why he
ball.
was upset, and the game was out of hand, so it doesn't really matter that he got the technical.
No, that's not true. It was still like that this happened shortly after the ejection. This happened
it was already
no. Let me see. Let me try to find the play-by-play here in the fourth quarter. But this happened right after Luka's
there were
tee.
only 8 minutes left.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was a ton of time. Here we go. So, all right, Luca Doncic ejected at 7:40 to go. And then, yeah, at 5:40, it was getting away from the Lakers, but it was an 8-point game. Vando picks up. Oh no, that wasn't it. They don't have it listed. Oh, no, they don't have it. They don't have Vando's tech listed.
Already got rescinded.
That's
So
weird.
you were
No,
right.
or no, Harrison. It literally happened right afterward. I looked past it because it happened so quickly. So Luka Doncic ejected at 7:40 to go in the fourth quarter, and then 7:40 to go. Gabe Vincent comes in for Luka. 7:29, Jared Vanderbilt blocks Alex Caruso's 6-foot driving layup. 7:27, Thunder offensive team rebound because the ball went out of bounds. 7:27, Jared Vanderbilt technical foul.
I was thinking. Okay, so I was thinking the flagrant.
The flagrant.
I apologize.
Yeah, but that happened right after.
Yeah. Okay, I thought that. Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about the flagrant. I was like,
yeah, that's why I tweeted out because Orr had himself a nice little stretch. This is what I tweeted out. In a matter of 5 minutes or so, it might even be less, but in a matter of 5 minutes or so, JT Orr has thrown out Luka incorrectly, teed up Vando for looking at Caruso too long, missed a foul on Reeves and needed help from a referee on the other side of the court, then called a touch foul on Gabe. And then people followed that up.
So see, I think I missed the technical sending Luka jokes about the ejection. And so I just assumed that you were talking about the flagrant. I'm just going to be real.
Yeah. Well, no. And then the after that, you couldn't have gamed this out any better. So the game starts kind of slipping away from the Lakers. And I forget who fouled somebody going to the basket, and I think Vando jumped up and blocked it while it was still on or near the rim, and JT Orr runs in, and I think it's I only noticed this because of the context of the moment, but he was like, this is the only call he made during that stretch. Oh, also, shortly thereafter, Orr also Reeves dribbled around a screen, was shooting a three-pointer, got fouled, or was like, nope, that's on the ground, even though Reeves was clearly on the ground. All I'm saying is, JT Orr, I think we need to study this dude's betting on tonight, or figure out if any bets were made by him or his family. But anyway, so if
I were JT Orr, I know what service I'd use, and it's not going to do that to you.
No, use the promo code right up there. So
promo code lounge.
I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna change the promo code tonight for just tonight only. Use promo code ORR, 2 R's.
ORR, not just OR. It's important. Got to get the dots between the J and the T as well.
But there was a play though. There was a play that it was a goaltending that Orr called, and he ran up and did the full line and won. It was like unreal to watch all of this transpire, and it's like, man, this is the same guy that Spectrum just like an hour or so ago was like, man, our heart goes out to you, JT.
People contain multitudes. I will say we don't know what is happening there, so I'm not going to make light of that. But
no, I think I'm not making light of
not a strong on the court performance from him tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm not making light of his own personal loss.
Yeah,
I obviously feel really bad for him and his family and all of that
have
stuff.
Terrible days at work when they're going through something, and it.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe the guy shouldn't have been refereeing tonight.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's a fair question. Should he have been out on the court tonight?
Dropping sort of the bit of like defending him and all of that. Like the thing is you know what Luka would have had to say to him to get ejected in a game that's that tight as a star. Like you're telling me that whatever Luka said to that fan is like worse than like stuff Draymond says to the officials after like a first quarter like standard foul.
That's how Draymond Green says hi.
Yeah.
You know,
again, you know, nobody wants to hear the Lakers fans crying about the refs costing them a game, whatever. I'm just the point that my immediate thought was, imagine if this was reversed, and imagine if the game had been that tight.
Oh yeah.
And Shea says something to a fan, not even to the ref, and picks up a second technical. I don't even think Shea really gets technical, so it's a bit of a moot point. But still,
he has nothing to complain about ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Hold on. Let me just remove that. And go back here. See, this is the one thing. That's the one problem with StreamYard. It's like if you pull up a new video and you want to present said video, it just goes straight to the video. But no, like to your point, had this happen,
imagine the NBA Twitter reaction if an opposing star was thrown out with 8 minutes to go on a second technical for talking to a fan.
Yeah. It was so bad that I actually saw non-Lakers coverage people like, man, this sucks.
We would have people sending photos of themselves in tinfoil hats. Like that would become a trend.
Well,
like, okay, all right, they get the Luka trade done, and now this NBA is not even trying to hide it anymore.
I should have made a Luka hat or a tinfoil hat for this, but there's a real possibility that this one loss
just has a lot of bad refs right now.
Well, yeah, but like if I really want to do the conspiracy thing, which people sure are having a lot of fun doing the conspiracy thing with Luka, but if I want to do the conspiracy thing here with this, the Lakers and Warriors are in close enough position to where you can actually game that first round matchup if you're the NBA. And if this one loss leads to a Lakers Warriors first round matchup, I'm going to have questions.
But importantly, just asking questions, not making any accusations.
Yeah,
not any.
I would never. Harrison, I'm just
asking some questions, doing my own research, so to speak.
People asked Luca Doncic some questions after the game about.
I wonder what he had to say
about how that. This is the first time I'm seeing it. So if it gets off the rails, it's not my fault.
Sometimes with fans throughout the games, it was that was going on in the fourth, and the referee misinterpreted.
Way to go, Mike!
You see that happen?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it that happened, but you know, I never got a fan ejected, never. But if we're gonna talk, I'm gonna talk back like always. So that had nothing to do with the refs. So I didn't really understand.
What's the I guess the level of frustration as you're coming back in here? Your team was up one after you make the shot, and you see OKC go on the run, and presumably you're watching in the locker room.
I mean, it was tough. I mean, we were right there. I think we fought the whole game. You know, we were down 8 at halftime. We came back in the third quarter. We were fighting, man. So it was tough to see that this kind of situation that happened. And you know, that's on me too. So I can't let my team down over there.
I kind of feel bad for him in that last moment where he's like, I can't let my team down for that, you know? And I do. Here's the thing.
So he can say that, but
yeah,
we know he's not going to stop yelling at the refs. So it's like,
yeah,
it's the right thing to say, but you know, Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to stop yelling at the refs. He's not going to stop yelling at fans. Hopefully this just doesn't happen again in this exact fashion.
I think I was on Jovan's show, or he was on my show. I know it was a pod that Jovan and I were doing together, and I had mentioned like the yelling at referees that Luka does, and Jovan's theory was that that's kind of how he gets himself into the game. And I think I made the joke of like Luka screaming expletives at JT Orr is like his Samson's hair. like the notion that like he wouldn't be the same NBA player if he didn't scream obscenities at anybody like either on or near a basketball court. Like it's such a hilarious thing to think of.
All the greats have their vices. For MJ, it was gambling the night before games. For LeBron, it is like posting bad lip syncs of himself, like singing and not knowing the words to a song. And for Luka, it is screaming things that would get you thrown out of any other workplace in America at referees and fans.
It is. You know what? Now that I think about it, it's funny that because I sometimes get annoyed by the amount of crap that we have to deal with from randos on the internet. And it's like, man, that's just faceless losers on the internet. But just think of poor referees. A not so small part of their job is getting screamed at by some of the most popular people on planet Earth all the time. That's crazy.
That's why I always say only the real heroes ref,
That's absolutely nuts. What do you think of OKC after these couple games? I went into them not as high on OKC.
I'm honestly underwhelmed based on what sort of I previously thought about this matchup and what I thought the OKC bigs would be able to take advantage of with the Lakers. And I know that we spent the reason I'm on this show tonight is because we spent all of last show talking about how OKC was this juggernaut and we'd be terrified of them in the playoffs, and all the numbers say that we should be. And it's like, I'm back here to say I think the Lakers have some matchup things there. I'm not saying, hey, I think the Lakers are going to beat them in the playoffs if they play right now. I'm not ready to go there yet, but there certainly seem to be some schematic and sort of personnel issues that OKC has as far as being able to defend LeBron and Luka and Austin all at the same time that, I don't know.
Yeah, I have kind of thought that they feel like an Atlanta Hawks-ish team. Those Atlanta Hawks teams that got the player of the month together and then would just always lose to LeBron in the first round. I think now, obviously, OKC is a lot better than the Atlanta Hawks. Don't get me wrong.
And Shea's better than any player.
And Shea is better than anybody that those teams had. But I still think Shea is not quite on the level of best player in a series that he would need to be to win a playoff series, especially if the other two stars in the series would potentially be Luka Doncic and LeBron James. I think some of OKC's shooting is a little fraudy. With guys like Dort tonight hit 4 or 5 threes. And his shooting has gotten better this year, but his shot is the kind of shot that historically just kind of goes away in a playoff series. As those stakes get elevated a little bit more. And then outside of that, the actual shooters that they do have, Cason Wallace for a little bit, and then Isaiah Joe, those guys typically get played off of the court because the Lakers would hunt them into oblivion with Luka and LeBron. And then,
you're not going to play as big of a rotation in the playoffs anyway. So to some degree, their minutes would get cut naturally as you play your best players more minutes.
Yeah. The one major advantage that OKC has is the possession battle, and they were able to turn the Lakers over a ton today, and they won the offensive rebounding thing. That's why it was
they win the turnover battle almost every game they play. They have a historic turnover differential this year. That is a real strength of theirs, just generating steals and jumping the passing lanes.
Yeah. And that's what made it feel like a bit of a miracle that the Lakers were able to stay in this one for as long as they did, given that they were giving up the turnover and possession battle. Now the things that I think go in the Lakers' favor specifically, and other teams may not have the same advantage over OKC. Just look at how big Luka looks compared to the guys defending him. He has a solid 3 inches and 20 pounds on Lou Dort. LeBron dwarfs
Did you see
anybody.
LeBron hunting Alex Caruso tonight?
Yeah, well, like that's the thing is that like OKC has a bunch of these guys that really mess you up with ball pressure, and to your point a second ago, they get teams to turn over the ball a lot with that ball pressure. But the ball pressure doesn't bother Luka at all. It doesn't bother LeBron. The turnovers that LeBron had specifically in this one were very clearly, I thought I was taking tonight off, and I'm trying to get myself into like caring about this game. In the first half was really ugly for him. And frankly, 3/4 of the game were pretty ugly for LeBron tonight. And yeah, like I think that also OKC gets away with a lot of physicality by fouling a lot. And when other teams are allowed to play that way, I'm really kind of curious what that does to OKC's offense. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a really good team. And I think against basically any other team in the West, I would comfortably take OKC. But I'm going to say it. I would happily take the Lakers in a series over OKC. Like Lakers in 6, I would say. I don't even think it would go 7. I think they would beat the Thunder, not comfortably. But I think I would
just go all the way out on the limb. Do it.
I'm not gonna Shannon Sharp it. I think
we know you want to say comfortably.
Huh?
Yeah, we know you want to say comfortably.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
You have never felt lukewarm about a take in your life. You know, you are all in or not in.
You can't spell comfortably without the C in OKC. All right. I think the Lakers would beat them. I think I would take the Lakers pretty happily, and they would probably be the betting underdog in that series. And I think that would be a very solid bet in that series going up against OKC. And that's if OKC even makes it there. Cause I walked away from this series and I'm just not, I'm whelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm close to underwhelmed, but I think I fall out at about whelmed.
I also did come away with it just saying, like, you know, it is a shame that OKC is so bereft of assets where they could have upgraded their, like, you know, like wing defender stable at the deadline.
This talk about like Sam Presti.
They don't have enough picks, I don't think, to make
the Athletic wrote that thing. It was like, you know, other executives vote on the best executive in sports, and Sam Presti won best executive in sports, not just the NBA. In sports, this was like a week or so after the Dodgers won a World Series.
Should probably win a ring.
You think?
You know,
and then now this year, in a year that they are easily one of the 2 or 3 absolute favorites to win a championship this year. You know what their main acquisition at the deadline was?
It was salary dump Daniel Tice, right?
Yeah. They picked up a second rounder to take Daniel Tice's contract and then let him go play in Germany for the rest of the year. That's obscene. That would drive me nuts. I would not have handled that trade deadline very well.
No, you would not. You would have been banned from the building for the things that you said on your pod about
Cam Johnson's just sitting out there. He's exactly everything that they need. And Sam Presti's like, nope, no can do, buddy.
Well, you know,
I have all of these picks and I can't use them.
All these execs, they have their sort of pet phrases. Like Sam Presti is like, you know, he like talks about various meals they have to finish before he can be asked to make any trade deadline moves. And it's like, but it's also like, it's like the great philosopher Rob Pelinka once said, can't buy a house that's not for sale. So, you know,
Cam Johnson was very much for sale.
I'm just saying, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Who's to say? Based on, it's not like every single insider was reporting that he was widely available for, you know, you just needed a couple first round picks. But Sam Presti was like, well, no, but you know, like NBA Twitter is not going to say that I fleeced them if I make this trade.
Absolutely insane.
People are going to say that I overpaid, and I can't have that on my resume.
I'm not kidding, Harrison.
Job preservation minded king, you know.
You're absolutely right that I would not be welcomed in the OKC building.
Well,
if
you
I-
would
if I
not
was-
anyway, because from what I've heard, they have a fairly aggressive PR staff in terms of policing what is said about the team. But
Well, just
I
look at
think
their
that's
coverage.
if you were like, if you were sort of on the borderline, that trade would have put you over that deadline would have put you over it, I think.
Yeah. My reaction to that deadline, if I were, because you only have, this is the same guy who traded away James Harden too, by the way. And like, we're just like, yeah, it was a mistake. That was an ownership thing.
Sam Presti, I call him Sam Presto because he made our contention disappear. But yours would be meaner than that, probably. But that's a free one for somebody like when they lose in the second round this year.
All right. Speaking of fun comments that we had over the course of the day, the Denver Nuggets, Harrison, with the playoffs are in like a stone's throw. I was so angry at how prescient your clip was.
I held off on making jokes initially because I assumed he must have done something like horrendous
Terrible
in the workplace for them to fire him with. I was like, okay, like I'm not going to victory lap my prediction until we see if it's like, that we get the second Shams tweet that's like, I'm not even going to make up an accusation, but it's like, he's done something unsavory in the workplace. And I was going to be, I wasn't going to victory lap that, obviously. But the fact that that the Nuggets owners were basically like, no, guess what? We're tired of this and we're firing both. This is how miserable both of you are to deal with. We're firing both of you with like 5 games left.
So backstory here, I went and I listened to the DNVR guys. Friend of the show, Adam Mattis was obviously headlines that show and that all of their content.
Still a friend of the show? He hasn't declared you an enemy of his show yet? Like, are we?
I will say this. I think it's been long enough. When the Lakers were going to play the Nuggets in a playoff series, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about making the trip out to Denver. And I was going to watch one of the games there at your bar. And he was like, no, actually, we don't want Lakers fans at our bar. I was like, oh, so I think
honestly,
I really am.
Respect. I wouldn't want to at my bar either. So
I think I really am an enemy of their bar.
It's not the first bar to say, Anthony, not welcome here.
You know what's funny? Never kicked out of a bar. I won't make the next comment that I was about to make because a certain somebody would be really angry at me if I made it. But yeah, I have never been kicked out of a bar. Now, what I will say though is on Adam's, I thought he covered the situation really well. Adam actually kind of sort of broke the news that Calvin Booth was also fired. Everybody was kind of freaking out about the Malone thing. Adam tweeted out, "Oh, hold on. I think Booth might be gone too." And lo and behold,
in my headcanon is that he texted someone. He's like, wait, is this Malone? Is this firing real? And they're like, what, you mean Calvin?
Yeah, right.
He's like, wait, what?
Yeah. So I checked out their content.
Adam is unbelievably plugged in, and so it would not surprise me if he broke news around this.
Yeah. It's kind of sort of why I think Jokic is a possibility, but we won't go there. But the Adam tweets out that actually, no, it looks like Booth is gone too. And then Booth winds up being gone too. And I checked out their stuff and long story short, essentially, Harrison, like you just said, Booth and Malone hated each other to the extent that ownership started going to practices and games and walked away with the lesson from their time closer to the team was, oh my God, both of these two people are miserable to be around. They're miserable in large part because they can't work together. And actually, I think what the best thing for everybody involved here to do is fire both guys. Normally in this situation, you would make the choice of probably Malone because he's been there a little bit longer. He was the head coach of the
GM gets
team.
to fire the coach before the GM gets fired.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also have that at play too. So I could understand, maybe Booth, getting the opportunity to fire Malone, but no, they basically said both of you are gone. And now the Nuggets are going into a playoff run with David Adelman as their interim head coach. Now, he is a popular guy. He's kind of like a lot of these. He's another one of these up and coming names that you're always kind of told to keep an eye on. I believe he's the son of Rick Adelman. Yeah. And so, that's part of why, we're kind of told to keep an eye on him. There's a lot of nepotism in the NBA, obviously.
Well, and also, I mean, frankly, a lot of the time we hear about promising assistant coaches to keep an eye on. It's just like, hey, this scoop was brought to you by that guy. So if you could just like tweet that you want your team to hire him.
So you have David Adelman being like, no, man, they're both gone to Adelman.
I didn't say that. I don't know David Adelman. But yeah. It's, I'm just saying, usually when we hear about a promising assistant, it's usually like, yeah, that guy was really nice to me when I was reporting out a story on like his boss and getting him fired.
So he is going to be their interim as the Nuggets get ready for a playoff run. And Harrison, I kind of feel like I should just get out of the way here and let you just soak in this moment, seeing as you called them. What did you call them?
I think I said they appear to be cooked to me.
Yeah, they scream cooked. That's what you said.
Yes.
It was a great phrase. You said they scream cooked. So
yeah, the
away,
microwave,
man. Well
the
done.
The air fryer was going off. The Nuggets were done. Okay, and and I was early. It's I was early, but not wrong. And ultimately that's what's most important in this industry. So I think I am the newsbreaker of the show now.
Yeah, you definitely are. All right.
My leak sources are just my gut and just watching the vibes. And it's just like, well,
what's funny is
there's like a bunch of stories coming out about how like the front office is annoyed that they keep having to like let veteran players go so that Mike Malone will stop using them over the young guys that they like that are bad at basketball. But Mike Malone, like, doesn't want to play them and let them develop to maybe become good someday. Like as most coaches would not. And it's just like the vibes are terrible there. And it's like, you look at them and what changes can they make? They don't really have assets because of Calvin Booth's terrible trades and, like history running they obviously did an amazing job. He did an amazing job putting the final touches on that championship team. But basically every single move since then has been terrible. And it's like, do you know how bad of a job you have to do and how bad of an upward communicator you have to be as a GM to not even get to fire one coach? You get fired on the same day. Ownership's like, no, we've had it. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, think about how bad you have to be at your job to screw up Nikola Jokic. Have you seen the season this guy is having? Like, I think Shea is the MVP because of the amount of winning that OKC has done this year. But the fact that
I think Jokic is the MVP. I'm sorry. Like, I think this thing where we give it to the fun story on and I'm not trying to dismiss him. I know he's been great and all of that stuff, but it's just like, if you were to ask, 30 GMs which player they would pick.
Yeah.
I think all 30, including Shea's GM, would pick Jokic.
I get a little nervous about this because we tend to kind of bend
that's
the
true.
rules.
Actually, Nico Harrison would pick Shea. So
no, Nico would pick AD. He's his MVP through and through. Him and Kyrie. But yeah, like I would personally pick Shea because they've done so much winning this year and he means so much to them on both sides of the ball. But Jokic has had the kind of season to where I'm like, man, it's really hard for me to vehemently disagree with everything that you just said. And yet somehow, some way, the Nuggets are reside in such a basement. They're probably going to be a play-in team, and they're going to be a play-in team in a season
in which case you shouldn't get the MVP, and that's fine.
Yeah, Jokic is going to have maybe one of the best offensive seasons, maybe the best offensive season in the history of the sport, and his team is going to be in the play-in, I think, and like that's on you, Calvin Booth. You have to wear that. And I never watched.
Now, the important thing is now they will have multiple MVPs, former MVPs on their roster with experience winning it, as like a 6 seed. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
No one's more prepared. Did you see the report though?
Prepared to make a run.
Did you see the report that Russell Westbrook was at the center of this decision?
Oh God, I love him.
Did you see this? No, I'm
did
being
not
serious.
See this. I did
Yeah,
not.
apparently Calvin Booth had grown frustrated with Mike Malone playing Russell Westbrook over Jalen, which
Who would have
whatever.
guessed giving of coach Russell Westbrook would have resulted in them playing him a lot of minutes because they were worried he wasn't going to buy in if they didn't.
It's just unbelievable how this guy just goes from situation to situation, and they all seemingly get worse. But his stands are like everybody else's fault, not our guy.
In this case, they are actually correct, I would say. I think, like, as far as things that have gone wrong in Denver, Russ
he's been mostly okay, but
he's fine. He's a minimum player. He's fine. He's like, it is funny that he is still around, like, this much dysfunction, but I don't think it's because of him, in this case.
I don't know. It's those situations where it's like, if you're enough,
I think
if you're around enough
like,
stupidity, you start looking at
Jokic coach killer. Same thing we did. Has player empowerment gone too far? He's signing Westbrook. He's getting the coach fired. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think he wanted Šarić too. I think that was a Jokic choice.
I heard, it's bad to have players make personnel decisions and get their coaches fired, and that they're at fault for that. So,
all right. So, going back to the central topic of the show, couple quick things here. Both of these from Dave McMenamin of ESPN. First, quote, the OKC Thunder fan Jeremy Price, who calls himself the courtside.
He named him?
Huh?
Oh, okay. I guess this guy identified himself. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jeremy Price, who calls himself the courtside tattoo dude, he's kind of like, I guess he's kind of like the Lakers sign guy. I don't know.
The courtside tattoo dude, incredible superhero name. No notes. I think you just A+ on the first try.
Said he engaged in trash talk with Luka Doncic before, quote, absolutely. Last season, matter of fact, when he was a Maverick in the playoffs, but all within the game. So he wasn't bothered by what Luka said to him, but apparently
I love my personal rival Luka Doncic. I have nothing but respect for our battles over the years. We get feisty, but I don't think that ref should have thrown him out for that.
Now this is interesting. Dave McMenamin saying Jared Vanderbilt says when Luka Doncic picked up his first technical foul, referee JT Orr said he would, quote, talk to anybody but Luka, end quote. Vanderbilt said the text Doncic received seemed personal. Vando's words there. Look, man, all I'm going to say is these guys.
Vando's using his money to I think that's a good expenditure by the Lakers. If he's going to use his money on getting the Lakers some better calls.
You think he'll get fined for that?
I think probably.
For what?
I mean, he's being like critical of officiating, I guess, broadly.
Yeah.
The NBA gets really mad if you start implying that there's a conspiracy or personal biases with their robo-refs. It's like to them, they're like, that ref is RoboCop. He has no biases. He has no interests outside of basketball. He just calls it right down the middle,
Yeah. I look, man, all I'm going to say is that those few minutes there were just so wild to me. How at the center of all of it, JT Orr was. It got to a point, Harrison, I have not screamed at a TV over refereeing in a long time. But Reeves gets
since last week.
No, you could ask Jen.
No,
I have kids. Jen was like, dude, you better shut the hell up because we have a son sleeping on the other side of the wall that the TV's on. And I was screaming at the TV. So I don't really do that anymore. And on the play that Tony Brothers had to step in and make the call while JT Orr is looking specifically at the play that Austin was getting fouled on. And then on top of that, like a couple minutes later, Orr makes the foul call, but decides that it's in the bonus and not a 3-shot foul. Like, it's just, I'm not being conspiratorial here at all. I swear to God. All I'm saying is,
no, I don't think that there's any larger conspiracy at play here. I just think it seems like the guy doesn't like Luka,
or the Lakers in this case. I
think probably the Lakers who annoyed him by proxy. But I think it's pretty clear based on what Mavs fans were saying that like this guy doesn't like Luka.
That was.
And again, as I've said on this show a couple times, I completely get it if there's any refs that don't like Luka, but you can't let it go to that level either. Just like I say, Luka could probably use to tone it back a little bit on how he talks to the refs and arguing every single call. The refs also do not get to take it personally and make bad calls because they don't like the way that Luka talks to them.
Yeah, or not make calls, right? Like in this case, just ignoring stuff that's going on there. It's just crazy. It was absolutely crazy to watch. And again, Harrison, like I know that we've been doing a lot of laughing about this over the course of the show, but to me, the story here is this was a game arguably between two of the best teams in the league. I think the Lakers belong in that conversation. I think it's pretty clear when they have their guys and they're defending the way that they can, and Luka, LeBron, and Austin are clicking. I just don't know what very many teams do with the Lakers in those moments. And for one thing, it's crazy. It's a good thing, but it's crazy that this didn't happen on national television, that neither of these games were on national TV, where OKC was. Huh?
Sundays was.
But it was on NBA TV. It was not.
No, it was on ABC, not, wasn't it?
I don't think so. Was it?
I mean, I watched on Spectrum, so I actually don't know. But I
know. I watched the OKC feed. Yeah, that was on NBA TV.
Oh.
So like neither of these games being on national television, I think is a mistake. But could you imagine if this took place on national TV, on ESPN or TNT or whatever? Like this would be this would be, and it's an absolute disgrace that
First week would have finally talked about the Thunder.
Yeah. Did you see that? And then after the game, I can't stand Mark Daigneault. I've decided he's a weirdo for wearing his collar the way that he does. But like, I can't. He's asked after the game
with Ryan Quarterzip ready to go.
Yeah. Well, this is the same guy earlier who tried to game the how quickly Denver got the ball in and out. Did you see that by having a permanent sub? It was the phrase he used for it. And then tonight, his remarks on Luka was that he was glad to see that the referee stood up for the respect the game clause. And it's like, you hall monitor ass nerd.
What a dweeb.
I can't stand this guy.
No comment that. Oh my God.
Yeah. I just, just go away, man.
All right.
You know what? I'm going to say this.
I'm with you. It's, nobody that's like, oh, thank you for the ref for standing up for themselves. You're not winning a championship. I'm sorry. I'm
telling you, the basketball gods are going to remember this nonsense.
Yeah.
I think Shea Griff's too much. Lou Dort falls anytime somebody touches him. I can't stand this Oklahoma City team. I began these couple of games like, showing due respect for a team that has the record that they have, but I walk away from it and be like, frauds, all of them, especially
fraud
you,
Jason.
Yeah. No, I've escalated it. They're just frauds now. They're not fraud Jason.
Oh, okay. Anymore. Not fraud Jason anymore.
No. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into some of the super comments here and then get up out of here. I have to pack. I just realized. Where's the clip? There's the clip. It would be funny if I changed that
it for OKC.
Yeah. No.
JT Orr.
Fuck JT Orr.
You can get that for tomorrow's show.
I wonder if I could do that. Let's see. All right, ready? Orter. No, shoot.
Nailed it, I think.
I totally got it.
First take. I'm leaving that in. It's perfect.
It's live, so I have no choice. All right, let's scroll up to the top. Marley Villasenor writes, the Lakers like this matchup. OKC didn't prove much tonight. We win this game if the ref doesn't decide it. Yeah, I
did. JT Orr help the Lakers by giving. Now the Thunder have zero film on the Lakers' crunch time offense because the Lakers beat them so badly the other day.
Yeah, so coming into the game, I made the argument that the Lakers should punt it, and part of the reason being that you don't want to give OKC any confidence after you beat them the way that they did. But I actually think that the Lakers actually took even more confidence from this game, to where it's like, OKC got a lot in their favor here. You look at the box score, obviously.
Yeah, I'm the Lakers. I'm sitting there saying you needed that to beat us.
Yeah, right. Well, all right. So you had Lou Dort go 5 of 8 from 3-point range. Jalen Williams scored 26 points on in this one. He was a plus 18. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was 5 of 9 from 3-point range. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter, but that's above what he normally would do. He went for 42 in this one. You obviously got all the nonsense with JT Orr. And yeah, like overall, you know, they won the turnover battle by a lot, 18-6 in this one. They grabbed 15 offensive rebounds as well. So they won the possession battle. They shot 48.6% from 3-point range.
To be fair, I think we would normally expect them to win the offensive rebounding battle.
Sure, yeah, but I'm saying, but like when you check all of the boxes that OKC checked tonight, including the refereeing one, and like the Lakers, if I'm the Lakers, it's like, yeah, when Luka was playing, we were getting ready to beat you guys, and it wasn't until Luka was taken from the game that this game felt demonstrably different and in OKC's favor. So I walk away from it, yeah, feeling a lot like you do, Marley. The next question here comes from Brandon Omang. OKC are front runners. Luka got ejected and started bumping their chests. The Vando tech for looking at AC and the flagrant one on J-Dub was a common foul. Yeah. If Vando's foul on J-Dub is a flagrant one, then J-Dub's flagrant one on Vando from the game before has to be a flagrant 2.
7. Oh.
20. Justin Tyndall writes, the Wolves lead the Bucks 95-71 with 10:09 to go and lost. Oh, they led the Bucks 95-71 with 10 minutes to go, lost by 7. 23-0 run by the Bucks. So that helps the Lakers a little bit.
It's like I always say, don't let Doc Rivers get an underman team in April. You know, there's nobody better under those circumstances.
You're 1,000,000% right. Now, when they get healthy and then go into the postseason a week or so later,
I didn't say beyond April. I said April.
But specifically early April.
Yeah.
Not mid to late April.
The doctor is in early April. And then he goes on vacation to Cancun.
Once the golf gets really, really good in mid to late April,
he's like, I can't be spending time on the film anymore. It's too nice out there. I gotta go. I gotta go hit the greens.
I don't think we made enough of the reporting done while he was GM and coach of the Clippers, how much golfing he was doing while he was in that position.
Well, I think the thing was the Lakers employed like a full-time golfer and part-time head coach as their head coach at the same time. So it was kind of like, you know, couldn't really throw stones.
All right. The quick look at the standings though, and I believe there are still some games going on. No, so Golden State's going to beat Phoenix and the Clippers are going to beat San Antonio. So the Lakers sit at 31 losses still. Minnesota's loss is a big one. Losing to the Bucks there is a big one.
I saw their fans tweeting out the Karl Anthony Towns trade saying this is when it all went downhill tonight. So going through it a little bit, I think.
It's so funny because they were playing really, really well. And then
I know. Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, I'd be tweeting some crazy stuff too. Like after, you know, if you give up like a 22-0 run, you know, 23-0 run.
To Doc Rivers.
It's kind of hard to be positive after that, no matter what.
Do you think Doc like calls the timeout? There's like, oh, so this is what this feels like.
No, he called the timeout and he said, Giannis, what are we doing?
Normally on the other side of this, Alex Chavez writes, no better co-host with all that happened today. LOL. I would agree. This was a fun show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode.
I thought Anthony did a great job.
See,
can I end us on a positive note, because I really feel like we did not get to have enough fun with the Mike Malone and Calvin Booth thing because of the stupid game tonight. Yeah. And I just want to say, did you see Joe Mazzulla's quote on the Mike Malone firing?
Yeah, I did, but give it up to I guarantee you the audience didn't.
Here's so per our own Noah Dalzell, here's how Joe Mazzulla reacted to the Michael Malone firing. Quote, I wake up every day saying this could be my last day. You want this for as long as you can, but at the same time, you're also replaceable. Every day, I remind myself of my own mortality. And I think Joe Mazzulla might genuinely think that being fired means being set on fire, and he's just decided to coach anyway, you know?
He thinks it's a firing squad. Like,
Yeah. He's like, oh, they killed my guy Mike Malone, but you know,
all right.
dog world out there. That's where I win. It's such a his psychosis while coaching would make a lot more sense.
Yes.
He literally thought he was going to die.
Right. I would coach like my life depended on it if I thought my life actually depended on it.
Yeah. He's like, you know, Lord carry him now, Mike Malone. Give it a good effort.
Justin sneaks one at the end here. Darvin, new Nuggets coach. That's the funniest timeline here.
I need it so bad.
Well, first,
I actually, what I really want is Mike Malone, Sixers coach, because he is going to go in there and like flip on every single take he ever had about Embiid versus Jokic and start like being the minister of Embiid propaganda, like while Embiid is going through like the end of his career, unfortunately. And it, you know, he's going to go in there and he's going to be like, you know, he's like, the difference, you didn't have me, you know, I'm going to make sure that we get it done and we win a title, just like I unlocked Nikola in Denver and got him a title. How many championships they won since they fired me?
Where's the funniest place for Mike Malone to go?
I mean, the Kings, obviously.
Is it though?
Like, I mean, they fired him because his player got pneumonia. It would be very funny if they hired him again.
I really like 100% being serious here. Like Joe Mazzulla levels of deadly serious here. I want the Lakers to throw the bag at Mike Malone to be the lead assistant on JJ's staff.
I don't know that I would be safe in Staples Center anymore if that were the case. And, you know, I guess that's fine. I don't go there that often anymore anyway.
I need it. I need it. Like, could you imagine how Denver fans would freak out if
JJ should let him do an interview every single game too. Just be like, you know, out there. He's like, you know, I thought Nikola was crying tonight. I just like maybe get back on defense instead of crying about Luka's fouling me.
I don't think Luka is close enough to Jokic to foul him, but it would be somebody. That's all I need. I need the Lakers to I think that's my preferred one. Funniest.
It's like, you know, Rui, I always loved your game.
Brooklyn's the funniest. When he goes and coaches D'Angelo Russell.
Brooklyn has a very good guy. Well, I don't know
You're
that
right.
D'Lo's going to be in Brooklyn beyond this season. I guess maybe, but you know, wherever he goes, I hope that he and D'Angelo Russell, you know, get together, squash the beef. Mike Malone goes on the backyard pod. They talk it out, you know, while D'Lo's eating fruit into the microphone.
That's where I need it. I need D'Lo to go to Sacramento as they convince themselves one more combo guard is what's going to turn things around.
I think the D'Lo, Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis core with DeMar DeRozan, lots of people are going to be saying they're not like us, or they are not like us, or whatever the Kings owner thought the song was when they signed DeMar. They are unlike us.
Poor Vivek. I really believe he thinks that he unlocked the world with his 4-on-5 theory. Just like his cherry.
He carries himself like it. He's like, you know, we got that one wrong. That's fine. Sometimes you get every decision wrong for 20 years. But I did have the 5-on-4 thing. And, you know, eventually I'm going to find another one like that. Like maybe I can get my next coach to wear a headset so that I can give him tips from from my owner's suite.
Yep. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I have to run and try to sneak in Daredevil before Jen goes to bed. So until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Harrison Fagan of SB Nation and Vox. He's just, you know, he's everywhere over there. Anything that you want to plug? I never ask you if there's anything to plug.
No, I would just say, you know, like
a good thing because we're running out of time.
Yeah, Daredevil would have gotten that call right tonight. I'm just saying, like, he would have known that Luka was talking to that fan. Maybe JT Orr should get the echolocation.
Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, all of them.
Stevie Wonder can see. Sorry,
better referees than JT.
All right, now we're getting flagged on YouTube. I'm sorry.